Well, hello, my name is Ken Ballard Jr. I'm the pastor here at Encounter Community Church. And again, I'm so excited that you're here because you want to learn about prayer. Now, odds are you just watched the last video that talks about 4 types of prayer. And you might be thinking, well, Ken, that's great. Thank you for giving me that. I love that I have that as a tool. However, I have no idea what to say when I pray. and I totally understand that. I totally get it. I remember when I was a kid, I went over to a friend's house and we were hanging out, and I was there and hanging out with his dad. And I had to hang out over there, several times. And so I kind of knew what the dad was like and how the dad talked. And then Sunday came and he was what's called a deacon at our church, which is a leader at our church. And what would happen is before the church started, like all the deacons would get together in front of the church and they would sing and they would do read a Bible verse and they would pray. And so my friend's dad was picked to pray that week. And so I was really excited to hear him pray because at that point I was still asking, how do you pray? And he got up and he started praying. And what came out of his mouth was, it just blew my mind because it wasn't a way that he normally talked. He was saying something like, "Oh God, most gracious Heavenly Father, thou art," and he just went on and did this prayer. And if you're familiar with the black church, what would happen is in black churches, they give you feedback. And so if you're praying, they'd be like, "Pray, boy, you better pray. Go on and pray." So he's praying and I'm hearing this around me and I'm thinking, but that's not how he talks. But I guess it's how you're supposed to pray. And so from that day forward, that's how I began to pray. But I can tell you, I never felt like I ever really connected with God in my prayer. It was something that I always struggled with. And then one day I went to a Bible study where they were talking about prayer. And the person leading it said this. He said, "Do you know the most spiritual prayer that I've ever prayed?" And so we went around, we started giving answers, and I did the, gracious, most heavenly Father. I did the whole thing. And he said, "No, the most spiritual prayer that I've ever prayed was, 'Help me, Lord.'" That was it. And then from that point forward, it challenged me. And so what I did was, and what I learned from that Bible study is to begin to talk to God the same way that you would talk to a friend. And so I went home and I tried it. And for the first time, I felt like, man, it was something that was genuine. It was something that was real. It was something that was me. And so if you're wondering that question, well, Ken, what do I say? There's no magical words that you have to say. You can even start your prayer off like this. "God, I'm trying to start to pray, but I don't know how to pray. But I just want to share my heart with you." That's the kind of prayer that God admires. God cares less about the words that are coming out of your mouth than the heart that's expressing it. And so just think about it this way. If you were to come home and pick up your phone and call your friend, you would say, "Hey, let me tell you about what happened at work today." And maybe you would go through and tell your story. Well, that's how you could do it, prayer. Hey, God, let me tell you about what happened at work today. And then you just talk to God about it. Or maybe you would say to your friend, "Man, I'm going through a hard time, and this is what I'm dealing with." And you would tell your friend what it is that you're dealing with. You could do that with prayer. "Hey, God, I'm having a hard time, and here's what I'm dealing with. Here's what I'm going through." Again, there are no magical words that you have to say. God cares more just about your heart. And just share from your heart. And like I said, talk to God the same way that you would talk to a friend, because that's the kind of relationship that God desires to have with you.